Bueno, estamos con Steve Rothery, que nos vino a visitar acá a rocksinfonico.com. Bueno, un poco la idea es preguntarle a Steve, digamos, temas de su carrera solista. Ya hemos hablado de Marillion en la otra entrevista, así que ahora vamos a hablar de su carrera, de los discos y del próximo show que va a dar con The Paz aquí en Buenos Aires. Okay. Thank you very much, Steve, to have here with us.
It's a pleasure.
Okay.
Good to be here.
All the fans of rocksinfonico.com will be very happy with your words and with your solos too. Okay. Bueno, listo, empezamos.
We know that Pripyat was a city that was affected by the incident at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. How did you come up with the idea of doing a first solo album inspired on that topic, the ghost of Pripyat?
Well, when I was rehearsing for the Plovdiv Guitar Festival, which started this whole thing in Bulgaria, I wrote a little piece of music that kind of reminded me of like a haunted children's carousel. So I went on Google Images and looked up for like deserted fun fair type things, and then I came across the famous images of the deserted fun fair in Pripyat. Which was this amusement park that was built but don't think it was ever used because of the accident at the nuclear reactor. So I thought that would be the ideal thing, and then the more I thought about it, the more I thought that should be the title of the album and the title track. I read a book on the last Marillion tour by an American photojournalist called Would You Stay? And it's about the people that carried on living around that area in Chernobyl and the exclusion zone around the city of Pripyat, and also the same sort of thing in Japan, in Tokyo, at the site of the nuclear disaster there. But the more I read about it, and it was there's all these kind of people who don't officially exist who are living in the exclusion zone. Be it drug dealers or criminals or just people who want to escape the system. So that was kind of one meaning of the ghosts of Pripyat, but also that the people that tragically lost their lives, including the hundreds of thousands of people who were sent in to clear up the mess. There were all these volunteer soldiers, well, not volunteers, but people who were sent in, firefighters, soldiers, and they had to strip the topsoil from a huge area of land to try and make it safe, and a lot of them died from radiation poisoning. So again, that was another connotation or meaning, or possible meaning behind the ghosts of Pripyat.
Okay.
Long answer.
It's okay.
Who are the other members of the Steve Rothery band? How did you choose these new musicians?
Well, the other guitarist, Dave Foss, is one of my best friends and a great player. So the original idea for the guitar festival in Bulgaria was just going to be the two of us with a laptop playing some loops. But when they asked me to play for an hour and a half, I realised I'd need a band. So Leon used to be the drummer in the band that Dave has called Mr. So-and-so, and I'd worked with him in the past, and he's a great drummer. And the bass player, Yatim Halimi, plays in an English band called Panic Room. And again, a fantastic groove player. So Dave and I had discussed putting those two together as our dream rhythm section. So yeah, that's how it kind of came together, choosing those musicians. And Dave and I had a couple of writing sessions, and then we had a couple of days rehearsals with all four of us. Then we did the guitar festival in Bulgaria, which was a great success. I've been selling a download of it from my website, from steverothery.com. And I've also recently made a CD and DVD of the performance that's been sold on the Marillion website.
Okay.
About the creative process of the album. In many passages it sounds like a film music or a soundtrack. What's the idea behind it?
Well, that was exactly the idea behind it. I wanted something... Well, first of all, once I'd done the guitar festival, the choice was, do I make these into songs? Do I find, work with a lyricist like maybe John Helmer and find a voice? And then I thought, well, I've kind of done that really, and the challenge is to try and do an album of instrumental music. And I'd just seen Camel play the Snow Goose in London, which was a fantastic experience. And I thought, well, yeah, there's no reason to make these songs. I should approach it more like lots of mini film soundtracks, like short films, and try and create an atmosphere with the music according to the different themes of the songs. Like White Pass is inspired by this pass between I think it's Alaska and British Columbia, where a lot of people perished in the Klondike Gold Rush in America in the early 1900s. This really treacherous pass, and the idea was to try to conjure up that sort of snowy mountains and forests and the desolate nature of that journey, and trying to paint pictures with music that describe that.
On your new album, are you going to have the collaboration of guest musicians?
Yeah, I've got Steve Hackett, my good friend Steve Hackett's playing on a couple of songs. The End of Morpheus, I think, and The Old Man of the Sea. I'm hoping my other good friend Stephen Wilson is going to play on at least one, if not two tracks, and possibly mix it if the time works out and if I can afford him. But yeah, those are the two main collaborators. Don Airey from Deep Purple is playing keyboards on one track, and there's some other possible collaborators as well that I haven't confirmed yet.
Tell us about the process of making your disc available to be pre-ordered through a big virtual platform. How was it?
Yeah, I mean, I had once I decided to do the solo album, I thought I'd use Kickstarter, because obviously Marillion's got a long history with crowdfunding. We're the acknowledged sort of pioneers of it. And it went really well. I reached my target in the first 24 hours and went on to raise nearly $100,000 over the course of the campaign, which has enabled me to re-equip my studio, upgrade it, and make a special edition of the album. I'm going down to Real World Studios in about a month's time to shoot a bonus DVD of the band performing in the studio, and like a little documentary of the making of that Lasse Holle's doing for me. So yeah, it's great. It's more money than I would ever get out of a record company, and it was only a small percentage of the potential audience. It was just over 2,000 people that raised this money, so there's a long way to go yet.
Okay. Could you give us an advance of the new album, or something you want to tell?
Well, anybody that's interested, there's a few clips up from the Plovdiv Guitar Festival on YouTube. There's a full version of White Pass and some other different clips. So if anybody wants to check it out, go on to there, and it gives you an idea of the musical direction. It will be more polished and developed than that, obviously, because that was just the initial sketches of the songs. But the reaction from the Marillion fans that have heard those tracks has been phenomenal. It's very exciting for me to think of the potential for it, really.
Okay. About live in Plovdiv, how was it in comparison to other Marillion shows?
Well, because we hadn't finalised the songs, it was when you're writing, you rely on a certain amount of inspiration to come up with things. So that concert was really demanding in terms of you had to be inspired, and in 1 second after another you had to try and pull it out of the hat, try and come up with something. And I think there's loads of great magic moments on there, so it shows that the idea is strong and the chemistry between the players is strong, and it's all very positive.
Are you thinking about giving a presentation tour on 2015?
Well, I'm touring with the album. The album comes out at the end of September, and I'm touring through Europe with it in a lot of October and parts of November. I already have offers from all over the world to go. I had offers from Japan and Australia. I've got a promoter in Mexico and another one in Brazil that's very interested in bringing me across with my band. Hopefully, you could get somewhere in Argentina and Chile as well.
We know that in your project you play some Mayo songs as Esta, The Strange Engine, and Sugar Mayo. Is it comfortable for you? Does the audience claim for those songs?
Well, I mean, they were some of my most famous solos, and so I thought anybody that came along who was a Marillion fan would really enjoy that. When we go out in October, it's going to be slightly different. I've got a band called Ranestrani, an Italian progressive bands supporting me who are really good. But I'm going to do the new album, but then in the encores it's going to be more of a celebration of Marillion history, and I'll be playing some of the old songs that I don't get to play with Marillion anymore, things like Fugazi and Incubus and Chelsea Monday. So, and I have a singer, Martin Jaworski from still Marillion. It's a Scottish Marillion tribute band who's got a fantastic voice. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We're really looking forward to that.
What difference do you feel in your particular project in comparison of recording with Marillion?
It's hard to put it into words, but the Marillion writing process is very long, very drawn out, where this was incredibly short and no pressure, so I can't compare.
Your own pressure.
Yeah, this was just a lot of fun. Good friends getting together, making music, and having fun, really. Well, it's, with Marillion, it's more like launching the space shuttle.
The spaceship.
Okay. And in which ways did you evolve as a musician through the years, from doing rhythm solos of the Fish era of Marillion to the melancholy and atmospheric climax music with Hogger?
I think you do progress as a musician naturally. I think I found my sound, at least in the first part of my career, on our second album, Fugazi. And then you just explore different things, different equipment, different styles of music. And I think that's always been the case with Marillion. With each album, we've taken the opportunity to explore and experiment, really. And I think that's why we've made 17 albums that are probably some of the most consistent of any artist I can think of, really. I think there's at least one or two great songs in each album, and I don't think there's many artists can make that claim.
Could you tell us some memories or stories of that time, around 1985, and what were the ideas and feelings during the creation of such special albums like Misplaced, and what meaning did it have in your career?
Well, when you're in a band like that, you're not really aware of stages in your career. It's very much day to day. We were at a point when we delivered Fugazi and toured it where we were in debt to EMI for quite a lot of money, and they were thinking about dropping us. So the third album, Misplaced Shelter, was our kind of like last chance, if you like. Not that we went into it in any other way than just go and make a great album, but yeah, it's I suppose a thing that saved our careers. I mean, having a crossover hit like Kaylee, even though it wasn't written to be a crossover hit, meant that the album went on to sell over 2 million copies, and Kaylee as a single probably nearly that, and was a hit in a lot of parts of the world. So that's probably one of the reasons that we're still here now, because the profile that's given us over the years. But I mean, making the album was a blast. We were in Berlin before the wall came down, so we used to walk from the hotel alongside the Berlin Wall to the studios, the Hansa Studios. So yeah, an incredible experience. I think we all aged about 5 years in the 3 months we were there, though, because it was a very vibrant and probably self-destructive place to be for musicians.
Even now, having a career of over 30 years, do you think there still is space to learn new things and evolve as a musician?
And there's always space to learn new things, but I don't think you don't have to constantly reinvent yourself either. I think that's the thing. You need to always find inspiration, and we're very lucky as a band with Marillion that we are all still work together as such a strong unit, and it sparks off a lot of creativity. And when I'm in the zone, I find writing quite easy. Sometimes it's just getting to that point where you have to kind of relax to kind of give in to the flow of the ideas.
Which piece of advice could you give to the young musicians of today?
Don't drink anything you can't see through. No, there's loads of things. Anyone that's serious about a career in the music business, there's a really good book by an American record producer called Confessions of a Record Producer that explains the mechanics of the industry, which I think is very, very important. if anybody gets to that point where they have interest from even a small label or a publisher, they need to know what they're signing. Really.
Tell us how you came up with the idea of playing Misplaced Childhood with the past in Argentina.
Well, Roberto, the drummer from the past, sent me a clip of them playing, and I was impressed. I thought they did a good job. So when we were organising the Marillion tour of South America, I thought it could be fun to stay on and guest with them. I did something similar in Santiago a couple of days ago. I played with a tribute band called Fugazi there, and I played some of the old songs, and it was a lot of fun. It's a celebration of the history of the band, and all those songs that we don't play anymore because maybe Steve doesn't feel comfortable singing them because he would have to impersonate Fish to make the songs work, and that would be completely counterproductive. So it's still good to be able to play the songs in some way.
And the last one, could you give an advance of the audience regarding this show?
Yeah, well, it's obviously the past playing Misplaced Childhood. We were playing a few other songs as well, a few interesting encores. A couple of the singer and I think the guitarist from the other Marillion tribute band, Sugar Mice, are coming along, and I'm doing a song with them. Yeah, it's going to be a great evening. The only unfortunate part is that I have to get up at 5:15 the next morning to fly back to England. But it's going to be a fun time.
Okay, okay, Steve. Thank you very much for your time.
Very welcome.
We appreciate it a lot. We're going to make one solo now. Okay?
Yeah, I can make some noise if you like.
Okay. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Right.
Most of the solos on the early Marillion albums, up until probably the Radiation album, unusually were on a transistor amp, but with a distortion pedal. This Orange Boss DS1, this particular one, modded by Analog Man Effects, a little bit cleaner than a normal one, and it's a different sort of sound because it doesn't compress in the same way as a valve amplifier. It has more definition to the sound, if that makes sense. I'll just try and give you some examples. That's most of the solo from Esta. Vibrato and bending is very important to me. What I do always has been. Something like the Sugar Mice solo. from this strange engine.